All right. So today we're going to talk about step number 6. It's called step number 6 because my book is called 7 Steps to Heal Your Thyroid. And this topic is very close to my heart. It's something that I've really had to work on and continue working on. And, when people buy my book, like when I'm handing it to them, either at the clinic or somewhere, I tell them, make sure you read chapter number 6, So, and because a lot of people have come back and shared about, reading this chapter and what they have felt and how they've related and all of that. So I'm excited to share this with you today. Um, so far, we've been going down the steps. So we started week 1 with understanding your thyroid. We talked about, how the thyroid gland works, the thyroid disorders, how to read the labs, etc. Week 2, we talked about the naturopathic treatments. What can we do to help the thyroid work better, including some thyroid healing foods. Week 3, we talked about healing the gut, as gut being part of the root cause that can cause chronic diseases and Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Step 4, week 4, we talked about how our environment, and the foods we eat, the products that we use, the products that we have at home affect our thyroid, acting as endocrine disruptors. Last week, we talked about balancing your hormones as a whole. Like we talked about the hormone pyramid, we talked about the sex hormones, the adrenal hormones. So with that, today we are going to move into week number 6 with emotional healing. I always kept pushing my editor that I wanted to bring this chapter higher up in the steps, but she said it is good where it is. So, this is where it is right now. So this is one of the quote by Deepak Chopra in my book. While the body spontaneously lets go of the pain the moment the underlying cause is healed, the mind has a mysterious instinct for holding on. Through the mind, we create a prison of suffering and then forget that we are the architect and that we ourselves hold the key that will set us free. So, if we cut our finger, it heals, the pain is gone, but our mind has the capacity of holding on to so many things. And I know we keep hearing about staying in the present, letting go of the past, not worrying about the future, but it is just so easy to do that. So today we are going to talk about a few things that can be helped or can be helpful. So emotional healing, honestly, it's such a huge topic. Today we're going to focus on 3 things here. The topics are going to be empaths versus energy vampires, how to deal with stress, and then lastly, the steps to feel your best self. Okay. So, since I've written my book, I feel I have grown because it was published in 2018, and of course, I was writing it before that. But at that point, I definitely felt, okay, empaths are this, narcissists are like this, kind of dividing everyone. And I went through a really, challenging experience personally, and that's what made me look for answers of how I need to kind of protect myself. And that's what I want to share. So basically at that point, I thought, okay, I'm an empath, but this person is like this. But now I feel each of us has the capacity to change if we want to do that. We can't just define everybody, but if we have like an internal urge to, change something about us, think differently, feel differently, we definitely can do that. So what I want to say is we want to learn what kind of emotional energy we have ourselves, and we want to understand, you know, what the other person is presenting with as well. And then you want to see if the consciousness matches. And if it doesn't match, it is okay to move on. This is personally what I have learned, because it was very difficult for me to kind of let go of friendships or things like that. But just being an empath, I would get very involved, and I'm going to tell you more about who an empath is and what they feel. But I want to share that this tactic has kind of helped me. I respect your energy. This is my energy. If our consciousness matches, this is good. Otherwise, it's okay that, we move on with our different paths. It's not that you are bad and I am good and, etc. That doesn't help because we are all different people. So, empaths versus energy vampires. Basically, I came across this term empath when, like years ago, when I was reading something by Dr. Christian Northrup. She's an OBGYN. And since then, she's written a book called Dodging Energy Vampires. And empaths in general are kind and compassionate. They are caring. The thing is that they take upon the feelings and emotions very easily. It's very hard for them to draw boundaries. So, for example, if a friend is sharing something with me, I keep listening to that and I keep feeling, I get sucked into that problem and I feel that I'm a part of that problem. Also, like, I'm in that situation and what I should do, etc. And these kind of people have to be very careful about certain energy vampires because these energy vampires can suck you in. They can pull you into their lives and make you do what they want you to do. And I've seen this in relationships. I've seen it in husband and wives. In the case that I've seen, the wives have been empaths and the husbands have been, but it could be the other way around. The wife can be a narcissist and the husband could be an empath. It could be either ways. But this kind of relationship doesn't really work unless both the sides acknowledge it and want to make it work. Because the narcissists are usually driven by their ego. I'm saying that, but usually they don't feel what the empaths are feeling. So, they have kind of their way or no way type of a thing. And, the empath feels bad that, oh, this person is a very sweet talker. They go with their words, but really the narcissist can be pretty manipulative and would use the words that the empath wants to hear, but they don't really mean it. But the empaths will go with their words, and that's where the problem happens. So that's why I say narcissists attract empaths like a moth to a flame. Now, how do you know if you are an empath? So, all of this is actually in my book, but I wanted to list it here as well. Like feeling emotions of other people and taking them as your own. They can tell when somebody is not being honest. They have this gut feeling or intuition when they are talking to people. They have the capacity of kind of getting this, idea about what's or something's fishy type of a thing, And they are like a dumping ground. People want to offload the problems, onto them. And with all of this giving, they can become quite tired, because of their mental and emotional state. Empaths also have a creative streak, and they love nature, they love animals. They really need time for themselves or need spend time by themselves or alone. And they can get bored easily if they are not like being creative or doing something. And if something is like, untruthful or unjust in front of their eyes, they can, they just feel that it's wrong, and they want to do something about it or kind of cut that out from their lives, basically. They do like to travel, they like adventure, and then they're also prone to carrying more weight. Even though they may not be eating as much, and this is one of the things even with the thyroid, and pretty soon I'm going to connect that for you as well. They are drawn towards holistic and healing therapies. They want to help people, and they know, like, I already told you about the gut feelings, and public places can be overwhelming. So, like, going to a party maybe, or large gathering, they can come back home pretty tired, or, they can be stimulated from all of that energy. So if you have any of these traits or some of these traits, you could be an empath. So this is kind of to recognize, because once we recognize that we are an empath, we can do certain things that will protect us from, like, getting drained all the time, getting into these problems or emotional dramas. We can protect ourselves. So let's see what we can do. So now, if you have been in a relationship, for example, with a narcissist, and you being an empath, and you want to, like, break this relationship mentally, okay? Um, for example, like, you still have, if that person is a family member and you have to see them from time to time, then mentally you can break this relationship. And sometimes doing these techniques can be very helpful. So what you can do, one of the things is the cord cutting visualization, which is, you imagine that you are standing, and in front of you that person is standing, and then you are connected to that person with rope, with the light, which is, all these ropes are lighted, okay, and they connect you from the umbilical cord to the other person. So think about that, and then you think about a scissor, or you actually do a motion as if you were taking a sword and cutting those cords. So you're breaking free. And you could do this once, or you may have to do it a few times till this can help you mentally detach from that person, because you're trying to create a boundary. This may sound funny, but actually it really works. If, that relationship has been very strong and somehow it's been hurtful or abusive in a way, you want to have that detachment, and this kind of a thing really is very helpful. The second technique that I share is shielding visualization, which is, like, as I said, being an empath, if you go to, like, large gatherings and you get, quite tired, if there are certain people there whose energy doesn't match with yours, right? Or you've had some history which has been a little unpleasant or anything like that, what you can do is, just think that there is this shield around you, which is lighted, and you're inside it, you're protected, you know, and if you have to, like, leave the gathering, maybe use the restroom or something, and think about this, just say that you are protected, take some deep breaths, stay shielded. And then when you go out, don't worry about that person, and you will, you can still continue to have a good time with the ones you want to. So these are some techniques that you can use. And I want to share further about the relation of the thyroid. So the thyroid is located, our thyroid gland is in the lower part of the neck region, which is where our throat chakra is. The throat chakra is called Vishuddha, and that is related to our communication. So people who have suppressed emotions or are unable to communicate effectively of how they are feeling are prone to thyroid disorders. Okay, so that is the connection I want to make. The physical, place where the gland is located, where the throat chakra is supposed to be as well. So for patients with hypothyroidism, emotional healing is a huge part as well, so learning how to set your boundaries in relationships, always trying to speak your truth, okay, chanting, hum, okay, so hum, hum. If you chant, that's going to help align the chakra. Reading affirmations loudly. If you can sing, practice singing. These are some techniques that are going to help align the throat chakra and also help your thyroid. So, you know, let me give you some examples too, right? Like setting boundaries. And sometimes in our culture, we use, the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law type of examples as well. But you have to like learn to say no when you want to. And I have learned that over the years. And now I feel like such a sense of relief because I used to be sucked into things that I did not want to do, but I would just do because I couldn't say no, and I thought that if I said no, that person feels bad, and I have to please them, and I have to continue giving in. But just doing that, if I kept saying yes, I was only hurting myself. I was hurting my close relationships because then I would put that on my family. I would be drained. I would not be in a good mood. And the cycle continued. And even speaking your truth, even if you think that like something that you say is in contradiction to what somebody else thinks, but if that is your truth, you need to communicate that. And I have learned to do that, and no matter what the response is going to be, at least I spoke my truth. Because if you don't, and if you keep your emotions suppressed, that's going to affect you and your throat chakra, and in turn your thyroid. So that's the connection. I hope you guys are following so far and liking this information. Now, with all of this said, I want to say that, you want to also be thankful that you're an empath. I said all of these things that, you need to do. But actually there are good things. You should embrace the gifts of being an empath because you're able to enjoy life with that passion. You're able to feel these emotions, which is a great thing. And if you learn how to ground yourself, how to protect yourself, to set your boundaries, then life is going to be great for you. And during this time, like the pandemic, right, the empaths are really stimulated. They want to make a difference, okay? They want to try to heal the world. And I see more of these energies, coming out even on Facebook. There's a neurologist I followed, Dr. Maya Treat, and she pointed this out as well. It's the time for the empaths, actually. So if you are the one who, wants to make a difference, wants to do something, this is your time to kind of give it, thought as to how you want to contribute to the world. How do you want to change your world, etc.? What do you want to do differently? So we talked about empath versus energy vampires, and now we're going to move on to the second topic of stress. So when we say stress, what is stress, right? There can be acute stress, episodic acute stress, and chronic stress. So acute stress is like fight or flight. We usually give the example of the lion in the room. When the lion is there, if you are out and if you see a lion, you're going to run or you're going to freeze, so that's acute stress. But in real life, it's like if you're driving and if you just missed an accident by 2 seconds or something like that, you were in an acute, stressful position at the time. Episodic acute stress is like maybe somebody at work you don't get along with or always have, difference in opinion and whatever it is. So presence of that person or working with that person is going to cause episodic, acute stress for you. Chronic stress is something which is long term. It could be like a diagnosis, like cancer. I mean, right now we are going through chronic stress. It's lasted for months, and people in the front lines working with these patients, this is chronic stress. And I really am concerned about how this chronic stress is going to affect our population long term. So last week we talked about the adrenal hormones, and I just wanted to bring this picture back because when we say acute stress, episodic acute stress, and chronic stress, it kind of matches the early stages of adrenal fatigue, middle stages, and late stages. And of course, if you want to learn more about all of this, you can go and listen to my talk from last week. It's on my YouTube channel. But these are the physical signs and symptoms one can have in an acute stressful period where your heart is beating faster, you're sweating, the middle stage. You'll start to feel tired if you're uh, if you're dealing with stress all the time. And in chronic stress, it really makes you fatigued, difficulty sleeping, very tired. The pulse or heart rate is actually slower. And then we talked about the lab values and things to be done, which I don't need to talk about it again today, but I wanted to tell you how all of this kind of comes together. And what are the effects of this long-term stress, right? Um, acne, especially the acne rosacea flare up. And I was really dealing with acne a few years ago. The rosacea, I, went to a few dermatologists. I used all kinds of things topically, allopathically, naturally. Nothing was making any difference. Still, I worked on this emotional healing. And of course, I worked on my gut health and other things, but this was a huge part. Um, Risk of high blood pressure, heart attacks are there if, you're constantly in stress. Diarrhea, constipation, the effect on your gut health. Sexual problems, even like erectile dysfunction, not having enough sexual hormones, loss of libido. Weight gain, especially in the mid-abdomen area. We talked about how adrenal fatigue and carrying more weight around the abdomen is related. And then odds of diabetes, because in periods of stress, we tend to eat unconsciously or crave sugars and things like that, which, if it continues to happen, you'll have insulin resistance and be prone to diabetes. People with long-term stress are more prone to colds and flus because your immune system is compromised. It's affected with this stress that you're having. And, I talk about the immune system, 80% of it kind of being in your gut, right? And that's where we have our, microorganisms that produce like the immune fighting cells. And, if our gut health is compromised, we are prone to the colds and flus and other autoimmune conditions as well. So then the list goes on, the psoriasis, eczema. I see a lot of flare up, like, things like eczema, hives, psoriasis, which flare up with stressful conditions. So even other symptoms like headaches, etc. So, the stress is there. It depends on how we handle it. And one of the things is, how do we handle our emotions? And this is something I, also have worked on and I'm learning and want to share with you because, you know, a situation or a memory can trigger your emotion, right? You can either have a sudden emotional response and say something, or you can think about it, be more wise and think about it rationally and make like an intellectual decision in a way. So this is very helpful, rather than always being in a reactive mode. It's better to actually listen, take it in and then talk about it. So this is something that I have learned, and we'll talk more about this as we move forward as well. I wanted to bring this up because, a lot of times I hear, from people about either staying or coming off of social media, the like and the love and all of this anger and things like that, being on social media triggers all these emotions and all of that. But see, I have learned to use it like in my favor in a way. So how, like, this is the way to let you know that I'm doing this program or this talk today, right? So that the social media helps me stay in connection with you. Like during this time, the pandemic time, I think the virtual technology or the social media has been extremely helpful. But then there's an extreme where, people think that, well, this one had like 2 million followers and then they are, you know, committing suicide, which is so sad. Like they were so popular and still they are sad. I mean, we don't want to get lost in the virtual world. We don't want to depend on these reactions, right? So, I mean, what I've learned is I put up something that I think would help somebody. If somebody likes it or loves it, is up to them if, they found it helpful. But I don't want to be affected by that. You know what I mean? Like, doesn't matter. It's what I thought I should put out there if that is going to help somebody. Even right now with the political scene, people are like, I don't want to listen to this anymore or that. It's like everybody has a right to have their opinion, right? Whatever they want to think and however they think. It's up to us of if we want to react to that all of a sudden or just, kind of scroll away. And if something's, that you don't agree with, just move forward. You just don't have to be there and waste your time with that. That's what I think. But it's funny, like, how the social media impacts us. Like my little one, who is 7 years old now. So, a friend of mine had put up something that he had made. And then I said, see, like, so many people loved your thing and, you have these comments. And he said, well, only so many people loved it, but the others just liked it. So I was like laughing. I'm like, at this age also, like, they are thinking about all of this. So my point is we don't need to get lost into all of this, and the virtual world and the real world should not be considered that different. You just don't want to put comments to like please anybody. Like, I think it's if we use it correctly, it is just fine. So don't want to spend, I mean, we can spend too much time talking about this, but I'm going to move forward. Um, so what do we do with these emotions that come up, right? When you feel emotional, like just yesterday, um, my 92-year-old grandfather, maternal grandfather in India, he's not doing well right now. And I did a video call, and I was very sad, and then I started crying, and then my aunt was crying. And so the thing is, you don't want to stop your emotions, because if you feel it, you want to feel it. You don't want to suppress it, because if you keep suppressing your emotions, it's going to come out somewhere else. So I feel you have to accept how you are feeling. You then want to rationalize why you are feeling this way. And once you deal with it, just let it go. You accept the emotions, you rationalize why you're feeling this way, you deal with it, and you let it go. Don't suppress it, because it's going to come out somewhere else. And if you don't move to step number 2, which is rationalizing your emotions, then you will just be stuck in these emotions, and it'll keep building and building and building. It's like the snowball effect, and you won't go anywhere else with it, but just kind of building on these emotions. So I think this 3-step theory is a good way to deal with your emotions. Oh, we came to this topic of how can we deal with stress. I've written a few things, but I'm going to go more into details about some of them. One of them is journaling. Journaling is something I've done for years. It's something that you do to pour out your heart, something which is extremely unstructured. What I do is I keep this diary, next to my bed, and I have diaries over the years, and I just write in it when I feel like it. Sometimes it's at bedtime, sometimes on weekends, whenever I want to. It's not a pressure that I have to write in it, but it's just a flow of my thoughts. And over the years, I've seen, going back and referring to the diaries, it helps me think about the patterns. I learned more about myself. Oh, this is what I was feeling and this is how I reacted. So how should I change it? Change it if I don't want that same result. So it has immensely helped me, journaling, because, we can have these emotions and we can process it. Like, for example, I can sit and talk to this with my husband, but how he will perceive it will be different than what I am thinking. And then his reaction may sometimes upset me, So, and, I talk a lot to him and we are like very good friends. And, his advice is sometimes good and it's like a yin and the yang and, a balance of the heart and the brain, literally. But sometimes I don't want to share it with anybody but myself. So this is my way of writing it down. And it's really helped me, and especially during stressful times in my life, I have really written, and that has been very therapeutic. So till you don't do it, you may not know what I'm talking about. But journaling is great. Just go and buy an empty book. There are so many different kinds of journals available now, where one kind of has different sections to fill things out. But I just think you need a plain notebook to just write down your flow of thoughts without anybody judging you. Okay, one other technique, and this could help like in acute stressful situations or, things like at work, if, you're overworked and if you just want to take a break, or if somebody, you don't really get along with and you have to deal with them, you want to take a break after that, something like that. Anything that is causing stress, this 4-7-8 breath meditation exercise is going to help you. And research shows that by altering your breathing, it helps you because it has a powerful effect on your emotions. Now, there are different tools for this, right? Like there's Headspace, which is an app that you could download and use, and whatever helps you. But this thing, if you do it 4 times, it will, make a difference right away. So I would, ask you to join me. Let's do this quick exercise together. So this is, you take in a deep breath on a count of 4. You hold it for a count of 7, and you breathe out for a count of 8. Breathe in for a count of 4, hold it for a count of 7, breathe out for a count of 8. So let's do it. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Once again. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let go. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Once more. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe out. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if you did that with me, you would realize all of a sudden, just sitting on your chair, closing your eyes, you can do this anywhere, and it's helpful. So these are things that are written in my book, and I'm kind of going through them. I also talk about the 3 S's. Now, you may think this is not maybe directly related to stress, but by practicing these things can help prevent stress as well. So seva, sadhana, and satsang, these are actually Indian words. Seva is a selfless service. If you do any kind of regular selfless service, it could be volunteering in a hospital. I know right now with the COVID situation, not everybody would be doing that, but helping the homeless, for example, any kind of selfless service where you're not expecting anything in return is going to give your soul some satisfaction. Sadhana is a practice of doing anything that will also give you spiritual awakening or lead towards spiritual awakening. It could be some routines that you practice. It could be how you, perform at work, like a good day in an organized way. Satsang is, a group or meeting with kind of like-minded people where you are probably talking and learning about certain scriptures or discussing things on a regular basis. So they are like group meetings regularly done. So with that, I want to share this. So our family is part of Chinmaya Mission, and this is one of the charts we refer to a lot. So I just want to mention that in Chinmaya Mission, we like talk about Advait Vedanta, and basically what it is that you see the objects, emotions, and thoughts, right? So we call it the BMI chart, basically. You know, what we perceive with our body through our eyes, what we feel through our mind, which is our emotions, and the thoughts that we think through our intellect, right? This is the BMI. And with our experiences in life and everything like that, we have certain tendencies, which are vasanas, like how we behave. But when we kind of can overcome and put all this behind, that's kind of when we reach a state of consciousness. So we kind of refer to this chart quite a bit, and I don't want to go much into detail, but it really helps me and my family, and so that's why I wanted to bring this up today. So sound healing, this is another technique, and I have little, if I call them instruments or singing bowls here, but I don't know how to play any instrument. I wish I could. But just the impact of even classical music, or if in your workplace, if in the background have some piano playing or some soothing guitar or something, it really has an impact on your mental state. The stress at work may not affect you as much. The sound has a deeper effect on you like that. So I have this little instrument called Zenzula. I'll sometimes sit in my patio and play it. It's like African inspired. It's made in India, but I'll just so it's just calming, just sitting in your patio and playing something like that. And these are singing bowls, which I really like also. So, and to start and end a meditation, this is what I use. And if you all are interested, we could do like a short, even a 5-minute meditation at the end of this session. But these are like the Tibetan bowls. Um, and I really like it. So just wanted to, share a few different things that have an impact on our mind and our emotions. So feel your best self. So the ones, who are following me know that I bring up this chart from time to time. It may look really simple and you may think, what is this? But it just brings us to our consciousness. A lot of times we talk about, getting or feeling basically what I'm trying to say is, the consciousness or coming to our awareness, mentally, emotionally. But I feel it's more than that. It's even at our physical level. What are we eating? Are we eating consciously? Are we conscious about how much water are we drinking? Are we having bowel movements every day? These are really important things, actually. So this chart, helps you write down what you're eating from morning till night, and you can see the whole week what you're doing. That way, if you're making some bad choices, you have to write them down, and that may stop you from doing that. It also asks you how you're feeling that day, how much water you're drinking, etc. And we'll talk about the golden hour, which is a simple thing that you can do to get your day started. So I encourage you to kind of print out Feel Your Best Self. If you need it in a PDF version, just send me an email and I'll send it to you. You can make a few printouts, and I would encourage you to, write down everything for the next month and just see how much it'll help you. You'll write down everything that you ate, how much water you're drinking. That way you don't forget to drink water, um, and how well you're sleeping, how many hours of sleep you're getting, etc. So the golden hour is basically 60 minutes that you dedicate to yourself. It's best done if you do this first thing in the morning, but I'm not always able to do that actually. So I kind of spread it out during the day. And what you do is for 20 minutes, you dedicate it to your body, where you're doing some kind of movement or exercise. It could be going for a little jog or following a YouTube video, doing some yoga, whatever you like. 20 minutes for your soul, which is inspirational reading. I did, have a post recently on social media about the some of the books, that have inspired me. And it could be listening to some TED Talks, it could be listening to some podcasts, whatever inspires you. And 20 minutes for your mind, and that's meditation. It's so easy to get distracted. It's very hard to kind of sit down, breathe, and focus on your breath because our mind is full of thoughts, right? So the thoughts keep coming. But again, just like dealing with emotions, you let the thought come, accept that it's a thought, and let it go. That's what you do. And that way you keep getting better at meditation. There are different kinds of meditation. There are guided meditations that you can start doing as well. But in the end, you want to come to a point where you just sit down by yourself. You don't need any music, nothing. You're sitting by yourself and meditating for 20 minutes. So these are some of the books, and there are many more, but Brennan Bouchard, I love following him. I think, I butcher up his last name, but uh, he's very inspiring, if you need somebody who motivates you to get going in whatever you're doing. I would follow him, and his High Performance Habits is a great book. What I learned from it is that, things that don't come easily to you, that is what you need to practice on even more to get better at, because things that come easily to you are just going to happen. But if you want to be successful, then things that don't come that easily to you, that's what you want to keep practicing. And Robin Sharma is another, you know, uh, professional coach in a way, inspirational. If you're an empath, I would highly recommend this book, The Empath Survival Guide. It really helped me when I needed it. The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I got this book back in 2004 at a Starbucks, I remember. And yeah, since then I've read the other books written by his sons, and it's a great tall tech. And actually, I think I made another slide on it. The four agreements are: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, which I have had to learn to do, don't make assumptions, which I've had to do, and always do your best. So no matter, what the outcome is, as long as you have put in your best, that is great. And some things that I got, from Brendan's page. The greatest obstacle we face is the long list of reasons and lies we tell ourselves about why we can't have or don't deserve what we desire. And of course, the list goes on. For today's talk, I'm like, should I put this or that or this? There's so many things because I like to follow people that inspire me. So on my Instagram or Facebook, I have people like them or people in my field or things like that who I want to learn from. So I would say, if you follow people who inspire you or you learn from that, keeps your feed kind of positive, and unfollow the people that, kind of you get, or you get distracted, or it bothers you in any way. You don't need to follow them. So do what you need to do. And this is another one by Brendan. And in the end it says, it is only in motion that the ticket clears. And that really, like, uh, kind of resonated with me, that sometimes you just have to take action, and just in the motion of doing things, you kind of figure things out, you know. Everything cannot be planned and organized before. Zig Ziglar is another one I will follow, you know, and no matter how educated, talented, rich, or cool you are, how you treat people ultimately tells all. And it really reminds me of one of my mentors, Dr. Tutera, you know. Everyone, you know, of the patients that I see who have known him tells me, because he passed away in 2015, so I continue to see his patients, and they say he was such a kind man, such a compassionate man. And that's how I felt about him too, you know. He was a great doctor, very knowledgeable and everything, but the way he treated his, you know, patients really kind of stuck with them. You know, that is what it comes down to at the end of them. How do you treat a person? Well, so this is a quote from my book, Life is Simple and Life Can Be Simple Again. You know, during this pandemic time, more than anything, we've realized that if we, you know, enjoy being with ourselves, it has been a very helpful thing to us, right? Like basically we have to enjoy our own company more than anything else. We don't have to look for like happiness outside, you know, like going to parties and movies and this and that. All those things are good, okay to do, but first and foremost, if you are not at peace and happy with your own self, then nothing is going to be good for you. You're always going to keep complaining. And you know, I feel like we've complicated lives by doing so many things, or you know, gathering things, or have this thing for materialistic things. But at the end of the day, you know, life is simple, and it can be simple again if we want it to be. And even if you're an empath, you know, don't adapt to the energy in the room, influence the energy in the room. So I've become stronger now, and you know, who cares, you know, like be who you are, you know, and spread your energy, and don't be afraid of being who you authentically are. So be authentically you and be unapologetically you. I invite you to join my Facebook group called Feel Your Best Self, where we can share more inspirational things and things about life, about different treatments, recipes, just about life. So this, you know, brings us towards the end of week 6, the emotional healing. And next week, I'm going to wrap things up. It'll be an end to this weekly Saturday series. The whole picture, bringing things together, you know, how we are as a whole person, mind, body, and soul. I'm going to share some cases with you guys, summarize what I have talked about. I'll be open for any questions and answers. So please join me. Let anyone you think this would help, let them know as well. And again, thank you for listening. It's time for your questions. If you have things to share, if you liked this, what you would like to hear about it in the future, you know, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. I plan to do more of these things, even plan on bringing in guests who I can interview. And I love to learn and I love to share. That's what it is. So let me stop sharing my screen. All right, so I can see all of you. And I see more. I see Brooke, I see Rupa, I see I see Dr. Jyoti Patel. I see Mary Davy. Thank you all for joining. And of course, I, you know, see all of you who are still there. So if you guys have to say something, you know, you can unmute yourselves because you all are muted right now. I cannot hear.
Can you hear me, Meghna?
Yes, Rupa. Hi.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Hi.
joining.
Yeah, you said there are two kinds of people, right? Like the um, energy vampires.
I couldn't
Uh,
hear that.
yeah, you said there were two kinds of people: the energy vampires, the narcissistic ones, and the other one, passionate kind. You know?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So you talked about two different kinds of personalities coming together. What if they're both narcissistic? What happens? Because that's mostly the kind we have right now, right? Like we're all
Right,
helping that,
right.
and so yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a great question, And I specifically talked about empaths and narcissists because I write about that in my book, but there are different type of energy vampires as well. And at the end of the day, we classify them, but we are all people. But if two narcissists come together, it's a problem, because they'll have a lot of clash, right? And they both won't like each other, so they kind of go their own ways. The narcissist and narcissist usually, it's very hard for them to get along. So and also, I was recently asked by a friend, can empaths be energy vampires? And that can happen as well. If the empath is unable to, ground themselves, or if, for whatever reason, if they are in a relationship with a narcissist, then they'll constantly need some validation and support from another friend, probably, who may be an empath. So they may be calling them constantly, asking for advice or whatever, and can become an energy vampire like that. So we all can move into different things as long as, we accept how we feel things, and work on it, have certain grounding techniques like meditation and understanding ourselves, I think that goes a long way.
So the one more last question I have is like you talked about card cutting. Like if you want to cut off with somebody, like you said, you visualize like a card, like an umbilical cord cutting. So when do you do
Yes.
that? Like during your meditation or how
Well,
do you practice?
you can do it during the time of your meditation as well. Um, you can do that anytime that you like, basically, and you may have to do it like a few times. You could do it every day for a week as well, if that helps you even more. But you could just, like, wake up in the morning, even if you're like in your bedroom, you could be standing, or even you can, in your bathroom, you could stand in front of the mirror and think the person is in front of you, and
And you're connected through a cord, and then
you're,
you mentally imagine cutting off the cord.
yeah, make, like, and just say, just say, like, thank you for all the lessons that I've learned, but I am done with it, and now I'm ready to just cut this relation. So, you're making that physical action, and breaking these cords. So if you keep doing that, then the presence of that person will not impact you as much. Yes, you're welcome, Rupa. Yes. Thank you for asking. Anyone else have any questions or things they want to share? If any one of you want to do like a 5-minute meditation, we can do that as well. So let me know, whatever you guys want to do. And if people don't have questions, we can call it a day and enjoy your weekend as well.
We can do the 5 minute meditation, I think.
Yeah, let's do a 5 minute meditation.
Okay, great. Let's do that. Okay. So, if you want to drink some water, you can do that. I'm going to do that because I've been talking. And just sit in your seats. I'm going to get my singing bowl. And I'm going to start it. Uh, so close your eyes. Sit comfortably. Your feet could be touching the ground, or you can cross your legs and just breathe. Focus on your breath. Focus on the air going in and out. And your mind can wander, which is its nature, but bring it back to your breath. Bring it back to your breath. Our mind is a monkey mind. It'll take us here and there if we let it. Take a deep breath and breathe out. Feel it in your belly. Let's be thankful of all the experiences in the past and let them go. Let's not worry about the future. We are here and we are thankful. Focus on your breath. You can slowly open your eyes So thank you all for joining me and wish you all a good weekend.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Thacker.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, ladies. Love
Thank
having
you.
you all here. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.